Hello everyone, welcome to the special online lesson of Japanese cuisine and food culture human resource development program. Today is the last lesson and we have Chef Haruyuki Takata from the restaurant Takada Hassho and who is a Japanese cuisine goodwill ambassador. Today's lesson title is Dashi and Umami, how to make ichiban dashi. So please, Chef Takada, Takada-sanよろしくお願いいたします。
高田です。よろしくお願いいたします。今日はよろしくお願いします。
My name is Takada. Thank you so much for joining today.
今日は、だしのプロフェッショナルの、人弁さんの永田さんをお迎えして、一緒に、始めたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
So today I have invited Nagata-san, who comes from the company Ninben, as a dashi professional. So we would like to start off in that way today. Thank you so much.
株式会社人弁、研究開発部から来ました永田と申します。約25年、鰹節に、携わってきて、に関する仕事に携わってきております。よろしくお願いします。
Hello everybody, my name is Nagata. I come from the company Ninben and I am in the R&D department. I have been involved in tasks regarding Katsuobushi for around 25 years now. Thank you for today.
それではこれから鰹節について、いろいろと紹介していきたいと思っております。
So from here onwards, let me introduce you about Katsuobushi. So first of all, let me talk a bit about my company, Ninben. So in 1705, the founder Ihei Takatsu named his shop Iseya Ihei. And from the trademark, now the Edo town people started to call his company and shop Ninben. Regarding our history, in 1699, we started dry food business such as Katsuobushi at Nihonbashi, that's a city name. And then in 1964, we developed and started selling the tsuyu no moto. And then in 1969, we developed and started selling the Katsuobushi fresh packs. And in 2022, this year, we mark the 323rd anniversary. Now let me talk about how to create hongare katsuobushi. So bonito caught in nearby waters are ice stored, and those caught in distant seas go under brine freezing, etc., and are frozen rapidly, and is then taken back in an ultra cold freezer at negative 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. So the first step would be filleting. And here, the defrosted bonito, for that, the head will be cut off and the innards, the guts, will be removed. And after rinsing, it will be filleted into 3 pieces. And then it will be cut into the dorsal side and the ventral side, therefore creating 4 blocks. So that would be 2 for the dorsal side, 2 for the ventral side. So the dorsal side is called the sebushi or the obushi, whereas the ventral side is called the harabushi or the mebushi. And then the next step would be the laying. And here, the cut fillets into 4 pieces are arranged neatly in a simmering basket. The next step is simmering. So inside the simmering tank, which is adjusted at 80 to 85 degrees Celsius, the simmering baskets are placed in there. 10 of the baskets are placed on top of each other. And then after that, the temperature is raised to 98 degrees. And according to the freshness or the size, it will be simmered for around 100 to 120 minutes. The next step is deboning. So after the simmering is finished, the baskets will be taken out, and in an airy space, it will be cooled down to tighten the meat. This is called namari. And in the Yaesu district here in Japan, it is then put into a water tank with full water in it to do the deboning. And the surface skin is peeled off from the head side, and that peeled off portion will be around a half or 1/3 of the total size. The next step is smoking and drying. So the deboned fushi is fillets, will be placed in a steamer, and then it will be burned, broadleaf tree firewood, such as Quercus serrata, sawthorn oak, and Japanese cherries. It will be burned with that firewood to get rid of the, actually do the smoking and the drying process, and therefore the moisture will be removed due to the heat and the smoke. The next step is mending. So on the next day, we will be mending the damaged part due to the deboning. So to do the mending, you use surimi sokui, which is a mix of simmered meat and raw meat by 7-3, which is then grinded and strained. The next step is arabushi and intermittent smoking and drying. So once the mending is finished, the fillets will then be placed in the steamer again and go through further smoking and drying. If you do the smoking and drying in one go, only the surface will be dried and the moisture inside will not be removed. Therefore, this will be done throughout 1 month approximately and 12 to 15 times. And the more you do it, the smoking and drying temperature will be lowered down, but the time would be longer. So that's how we adjust. And by doing this task, the moisture level will be decreased to around 19 to 22%. And other than decreasing the moisture, this smoking and drying process has the objective of preventing oxidation and preventing the increase of bacteria and put aroma on it.
こちらが実際の荒節の画像となっております。こちら黒い部分がタール分がついておりまして、だいぶ黒くなっております。下側が腹節で上が背節、背側の背節となっております。
So this is the actual picture of the arabushi, and you can see it's quite black. It has tar on it, and that's why. On the upper side will be the dorsal side, and the lower part will be the ventral side. The next step would be scraping and hadakabushi. Hadaka means naked, so naked fillet. So in order to have it easier to put like mold on it, the surface tar and the fat which seeped out are scraped off with a grinder, and this becomes the hadakabushi.
こちらが裸節となっております。ちょっと袋に入って分かりづらいんですけれども、タール分が取れ、少し赤みがかった身が見えるようになっております。これも下側が腹節で、上の部分が、背節となっております。
And again, this is the actual hadakabushi, and because it's in a bag, it might be difficult to see this, but the tar is removed, and you can see more of a reddish color. And again, the upper side is the seibushi, the dorsal fillet, and the lower side is the ventral fillet. So the next step is the molding, the mold coating process. So high quality Katsuobushi mold, which was grown in pure culture, is inoculated and stored in a muro, a room, where the temperature and humidity is managed. And we will do this for around 10 to 15 days so that the mold will be stuck on. And this is called the ichiban kabi, the first mold. After that, the fillet will be sun-dried, and the first mold, the ichiban kabi, will be removed, and then it will be cooled down and again put into the muro. So this molding process and the sun-drying process, if it's repeated for 4 times and above, then it's called hongare katsuobushi. By putting mold on the fushi, the moisture and the fat beneath the skin decreases, and also you will have the unique aroma of the katsuobushi created. Because the fat portion is decreased, you'll be able to get clear dashi.
こちらが本枯かつお節となっております。こちら4回かび付けしておりまして、きれいな褐色色になって茶褐色色になっております。
So this is the hongare katsuobushi, and this has gone through molding 4 times, and you can see that it's very beautifully reddish brownish now. So this is the sun drying process. After the molding process and the sun drying process is repeated, and this will go on for about 2 months to 4 months, the bonito, which was initially 5 kilograms, once it becomes hongare katsuobushi, would become 800 to 900 grams. So there will be 4 blocks of them created.
こちらは3キロ以下のカツオを節にした場合なんですけども、 こちら3枚おろしにして、背と腹は分けずに、ハツオの節にしております。こちらの形が亀の甲羅に似ていることから亀節と呼んでおります。
And this is the fillet of the bonito, which was under 3 kilograms. So when doing this, we do the sammai oroshi, but then after that, we don't cut into the ventral side and the dorsal side. Therefore, it becomes in this sort of shape. We call this kamebushi because it looks like the shell of the turtle. A turtle is a kame. That's why we say kamebushi. So this is the hombushi, and the name of the hombushi will differ according to the times, how many times the mold coating process was done. So if the mold coating is done 2 times and above, it's called karebushi. And if the process is done 4 times and above, it's called hongare katsuobushi. So this is the process from the bonito to the katsuobushi. So from the initial filleting process to the final molding and the sun drying process, it will take around 4 to 6 months to become the final product. And after strict inspections, it will go under packaging and will be shipped as a product. And the moisture percentage of the hongare katsuobushi is around 15%, and it is said to be one of the hardest food throughout the world. And so you can say this is really a masterpiece of taste. And you can also say that it's a product that requires extreme time and effort.
ここで噛みつけの効果をまた言いたいと思います。
So again, I want to reiterate the effect of molding. So it will prevent the growing of bad mold. It will effectively decrease the moisture of the fillet. It will decrease the volatile components, so that would be the fishy taste. It will decrease that. And also it will put on the unique aroma and also decrease the fat beneath the skin. Also, it will make the dashi clearer, and also it becomes an index of how much the dryness of the fillet. And also it prevents the oxidation of the surface of the fillet. So I'll introduce how to select good katsuobushi. So first of all, good katsuobushi has even reddish, brownish mold on it. It's even. And secondly, you have to check that there's no damage or cracks on the fillet. And also you can check that there's not wrinkles concentrated on the tail part. And by doing this, you can confirm that the fat on the tail is decreased to the perfect level, which is 1 to 3%. And also, fourthly, you can check that really the moisture is decreased.
ここで鰹節の削り方について動画の方を流したいと思います。
So now I have a video for you introducing how to shave katsuobushi. So remove the mold.
布巾で軽くカビを取り除きます。
So use a dry towel or a paper towel to gently wipe the surface to get rid of the mold.
こちらが削り器の刃の調整を行います。
And adjust the blade of the shaver.
こちら、下から叩くと刃が出てきます。すみません。こちら上部と下部に、分かれております。
So the portion closer to the blade of the kana is the upper part, and the more distant is the lower part.
上から叩くと、刃が引っ込み、下から叩くと刃が出てきます。
The blade recedes when you tap the upper part, and the blade raises when you tap the lower part.
削る向きなんですけれども、頭の向きを下向きにして削ります。
So direction of shaving, you would have the head on the lower side to shave.
皮がついている方が小側となっております。
And the tail end will have skin of the bonito.
刃先を自分の方に向けます。
Position the shaver with the blade edges facing you.
頭側を刃に当てます。
And place the head end against the blade.
こ 0.1ミリぐらいの刃に、きれいに手前から奥に向かって削ります。
So the ideal blade is 0.1 millimeters from the base, and from your end to the other side end, you will be shaving.
で小側を少し、浮くようにして持っていただきます。
And grip it so that the tail end is a little bit floated.
そうすることにより最後まで、小さくなっても削りやすくなっていきます。
By doing that, even if it becomes small, you can maintain the grip.
反対に小側を持って削ると粉になりやすくなってしまうので注意してください。
And be careful, if you hold the tail end side, it tends to become a powder.
コツをつかんで鰹節を上手に削っていきましょう。
If you get the hang of it, you'll be able to shave katsuobushi expertly.
保管方法なんですけれども、こちらジップロックやラップにくるみ、冷蔵庫に保管してください。
So regarding the storage method, it should be wrapped or put into a zipper bag and stored in the fridge.
刃は乾いた布巾で軽く拭き取ってください。
And the blades, you should wipe it with a dry towel.
こちらプラスチックの容器の場合は、そこは水洗いすることができます。
And if it's a plastic container, you can rinse it with water.
鰹節削り器を安全にお使いいただけるよう取り扱いにはくれぐれも注意願います。
And please be careful to use the katsuobushi shaver safely.
削り節の形状および用途について紹介いたします。
So let me introduce the forms and how to use the applications of the kizuribushi. So if it's the thickness is under 0.2 millimeters, we call it usu kezuri. That would be thin shavings. And if it's over 0.2 millimeters, it's thick shavings, atsu kezuri. So the thin usu kezuri is good for getting dashi and also creating denbu. And the atsu kezuri is good for getting rich dashi. And there's also other types of kezuri, like the ito kezuri, which is thread-like shavings, and you can use it for decorative purposes. And we have the shatter-like kezuri, and this is the really soft on your tongues. And the soft kezuri, you can just put it on boiled vegetables, for example, to enjoy the taste of it. And the powder type, you can actually powder it onto boiled vegetables or miso soup or furikake, so you can just use it as that format.
以上が鰹節の紹介となっております。ありがとうございました。
So this was the introduction of Katsuobushi. Thank you so much for listening. So we have Chef Takada from Takada Hassho, and he's going to introduce to you how to create dashi from now on.
高田発祥の高田でございます。ただいまから、出汁を、引いてまいります。よろしくお願いいたします。
So hello everybody, I am Takada from Takada Hassho, and from now onwards I'm going to introduce you about how to create dashi.
はい、まず、今こちらに、昆布の出汁を、引いております。
So right now I am creating kombu or kelp dashi.
温度はですね、だいたい60度ぐらいの温度をキープして、だいたい1時間で、この引き方もいろいろありまして、基本的な部分は、温度を60度以上上げすぎないこと。どうしても嫌な雑味が出ます、昆布から。
Yes. So here the temperature is around 60 degrees Celsius, and you have to maintain that temperature for around 1 hour. Of course, there are like many ways to create dashi, but I do have to say that the basics are not to increase the temperature over 60 degrees Celsius. If you do that, this rough taste will come out.
60度以下で、60度マックスですね、そこまで止めておけばアクもそんなに出ることが、少ないです。見ていただいたら分かりますが、アクがそんなに出ておりません。
And if you keep it maximum 60 degrees Celsius, and if you stop at that temperature point, you can see that not so much foam is going to be coming out. Even looking right now, you can see there's not much foam, right?
この温度の、コントロールが難しいときは、水出しという方法があります。昆布と、お水ですね。ただし、日本の水は軟水が多いですので、海外は硬水、ミネラル分豊富な水が多いですから、ミネラル分豊富な水は昆布が締まってしまって出汁が出にくいです。ですから水が一番重要になります。
Yes. And when this temperature control is difficult, there is a method called mizudashi, and this would be extracting dashi with water, so it will be kombu and water only. But I do have to say that in Japan, we use soft water, whereas I understand in foreign countries, it tends to be hard water with a lot of minerals in it. When you use hard water to do this mizudashi, it tightens the kelp, the kombu, and therefore it's difficult to extract the dashi from there. So you have to be careful about what kind of water you use.
で、温度コントロールが難しいときには、その水と昆布を冷蔵庫の中に入れて、24時間水出し方法が、可能です。
And again, when the temperature control like this is difficult, there is the mizudashi method, and you would be putting water and kombu together and putting it in the refrigerator for 24 hours.
水出しは非常に腐敗しやすいですので、必ず冷蔵庫の中で、出汁を、出してください。
And for mizudashi, it's really easy for that to go bad, so please make sure to do this in the fridge.
60度という温度帯は、だいたい、鍋の底に、細かい水泡泡ですねが、プツンプツンというふうな状態で、現れてきます。
And when we say 60 degrees Celsius, you can tell that by looking at the bottom of the pot, and you can see there's very detailed bubbles coming out. So very, very fine, detailed bubbles.
実際に自分の指が
I'm putting my finger in.
熱い。
It's hot.
これくらいの、温度帯が60度です。
So that, you can check in that way as well. That's 60 degrees Celsius.
これは、1時間ほど、もう60度をキープしながら、出汁を引いております。
So here today, I have already kept this at 60 degrees Celsius for 1 hour.
一番大事なことは、昆布と分量ですねにかかわらず、状態によって、昆布が、発育している、取れた場所によっても、変わります。一番大事なことは自分の舌で、香りで、目で確認をしながら最高の状態を、必要とします。
And the most important thing is that when you talk about there's this like ideal how much like portion, right, you should use, but it's not about that. It's actually it's according to like where the kombu was created and the situation of each kombu. So you really have to check with your own tongue the taste, and also you have to keep on seeing with your eyes, and every time you have to go for the best condition.
この状態で味見をした状態で、必ずしも OK ではなく、もう少し時間を長引かせることもあります。
So I would do the tasting every time, and there are cases when after I taste it, I'm saying this is still not okay, so I would be extending the time to extract the dashi.
なぜならば昆布が、取れる場所がですね、水深によって光の当たる部分の、 浅いところと深いところで違います。それと水質が、皮が入っている水分の塩分の少ないところと塩分の多いところ、それによっても昆布の状態が変わります。ですから必ず個体が同じとは限りません。
And why this is really important is because according to where the kombu was grown, for example, according to the sea depth, the water depth, how much sunlight that kombu was getting would be different for each and every kombu, right? And also, let's say it was grown in a place where the river flows in, then there won't be so much salt portion, whereas if it's in another condition, there will be more salty conditions there. So you can see that each and every kombu has their own conditions, and it's not the same.
それと昆布は、海底についていて、先の方と元の方では、やはり味の出方が違います。それによっても変わります。
And also the kombu, because it is located from the seabed, so from the roots till the tip, it's very long. So according to that, where it's positioned, it's again the taste is extremely different. We have a question. So from Lucas, Masuda-san, Takada-san, good morning. One question: is it important to have the kombu washed before it's used? はい、高田さんおはようございます。一つ質問なんですけれども、使用する前に昆布を洗うっていうことは重要なんでしょうか？
洗ってはダメです。洗ってはダメです。
Do not wash. You can't wash.
先ほどの鰹節の説明のように、拭き取ることが重要です。洗ってしまうと旨味の成分が一部流れ出てしまいます。
Because it's the same as the Katsuobushi. This came up in the video, I think, but it's very important to wipe off first, but not rinse it. Do not wash it, because if you do that, some of the umami components will go away.
この状態で、まず昆布を、この出汁から出していきます。
So from this situation, I'm going to remove the kombu from this dashi.
この後温度を上げていきます。
After this, I'm going to increase the temperature.
鰹節を削ったものです。
So this is the shaved katsuobushi.
裏ごしですね、これ。
This is a filter called uragoshi.
ここで軽く
And gently here.
このようにして
Like this.
パウダーになります。
It's become powder now.
これがだしの濁りの素になります。
And this is going to be the cloudiness of the dashi.
で粉のない状態を用意して、
So you have to prepare the katsuobushi shavings with no powder in it.
で沸騰してくると少しずつ昆布のアクが出てきます。
And once it boils, little by little, the foam from the kombu is coming out.
この温度がだいたい85度
So this temperature is at around 85 degrees
から90度ぐらいです。
to 90 degrees.
このようにアクがきますので、
You see the foams like this. So
ここで火を弱めます。
I have weakened the flame now.
この状態で
In this situation,
多いなと思われるかもしれませんが、この分量を入れていきます。
you might think, wow, that's a lot of katsuobushi shaving in there, but it's the correct amount.
静かに
And
昆布
gently
だしの中に落とし込んでいきます。
put it and push it into the
この時
kobudashi.
優しく
Be very gentle in this phase. 質問が来ているようです。
はい、どうぞ。
大丈夫ですか? We have a question from Deborah-san. What is the katsuobushi water portion? 水とkatsuobushiの分量ってどれくらいなんでしょうか?
2リットル、今日の場合2リットルですね。
Today we're using 2 liters.
で、鰹節 60g
And
よ
for
りこしてますから粉の分が減りますから50どうしよう55ぐらい、まあ、50から55ぐらいになると思います。
And against that 2 liters of water, today we used a katsuobushi of 60 grams, but that was the initial katsuobushi. You saw that I did that filtering to get rid of the powder, right? So I guess that the final grams, how much that was of katsuobushi was around 55 grams, maybe 50 to 55 grams.
この時またアクを
Again, in this stage, remove the foams.
この温度の、状態ですけども料理人によってお店によって、やはり変わります。
And this temperature condition varies among chefs and also restaurants.
ですぐこすのではなく状態見ながら香りと味を確かめます。
And don't filter it right away. You
Okay.
can taste it and also get the aroma and check if it's good or not. And then this is okay. So
いいですか？これ
here
ペ
I
ーパータオル
go.
今日用意してま
I
す。
have a paper towel today.
でその上にまた同じざる
On top of that, I have a strainer.
こうしますと
And by doing this,
いいですか？
let me try.
この時ポイントがあります。
There's an important point here.
決して押さえたり絞ったりしてはダメです。
don't press it or squeeze it. You can't do that.
雑味が出てしまいますね。
Then the rough taste will come out by doing that. 質問が来ているそうです。
はい、
今大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。
はい、We have a question from Lucas-san, and for that proportion, how much of 昆布？さっき教えていただいた水と鰹節の分量があったと思うんですけれども、昆布はどれくらいだったんでしょうか
？40グラム。
For 昆布 that was 40 grams.
2リットルで40。
Against 2 liters of water again.
ただこれも昆布によって、必ず味を見てくださいね。
But again, I have to reiterate, it depends on the kombu, so please taste it and confirm yourself.
もちろん昆布の産地もありますけども、産地以外に、昆布がどこで取れているか、部分がどの部分であるかということに対してグラムでは計り知れないものがあります。
And it again depends on where it was grown and in which portion of the kombu it is, and it really differs with those factors. So you can't really say this gram is ideal. You have to check each and every kombu.
これ見ていただくと、
So see this.
出汁が非常に澄んだきれいな出汁になります。
So now you have this very clear dashi.
この出汁が、日本料理の一番出汁というふうになります。
So this dashi in Japanese cuisine is called ichiban dashi.
で、二番出汁というものがありますが、
And then we have something called Nibandashi.
この残った鰹節、
This is the remaining katsuobushi
この残った昆布
and the remaining kombu.
を鍋に入れます。
You put it in the pot.
で、ひたひたの水を入れます。
And you soak it in full water.
で、しばらく炊きます。
And then you would boil it for some time.
で、一番出汁と違うことは、ことことと炊くということです。
And the thing which is different from ichiban dashi is for niban dashi you would be boiling for like a gradually. It would take some time.
で、通常は少し、仕上がりに鰹節を追います。
And normally in the finishing process you would be putting a little bit more katsuobushi in there.
最初の出汁の鰹節の、2、3割、
So this is
20-30% ですね。
20 to 30% of the initial katsuobushi grams. You will be putting that afterwards in the
最
finishing
後に
process.
入れてこします。
You put that finally, the final katsuobushi, and then you filter it.
それが、一応二番出汁という風で、ことこと炊きますので、味噌汁とか、煮炊き物ですね、そういったものには、非常に、使いやすい出汁になります。で、一番出汁は、日本料理の一番要である、椀物という、非常にクリアな出汁を、必要とするときには一番出汁を、使います。
So because that is the nibandashi, I just explained about what that is, and because it's gradually boiled, it's really good for using for miso soup, for example, and also simmered food here in Japan. When I talk about ichiban dashi, on the other hand, it's really good. It's really necessary. It's the core of Japanese cuisine. When you really need clear dashi, it's used for one mono's cuisines. We have a question. 質問があるそうです。
はい、どうぞ。
From Amadeus-san, you mentioned that it depends on the kombu part. Can you develop a thought? Are the different parts used differently? はい、昆布のその一つの昆布のどこの部分なのかにもよるっていうお話をされてたと思うんですけれども、はい、この部分はこういうふうに使うっていうその大体の目安みたいなのってあるんですか？違う使い方をするんですか？
昆布の種類によっての使い方はありますけども、昆布一つ、例えば利尻の昆布とか、道南の真昆布を、部分によって使い分けるということはあんまりしません。
Yeah, you would use the kombu differently if it was a different type of kombu, but let's say it's the same rishiri kombu and it's just one long kombu. You wouldn't use it differently just because it's from another portion of that rishiri kombu. Another question? Maybe もう一つ質問が入ってます。 From Deborah-san, what is the quantity of water for the Nibandashi? ニバンダシの、水の分量ってどれぐらいなんでしょうか？
ひたひたですから、800cc ぐらいかな。
So that would be
1
around
リットル弱。はい。
800 cc's, a little below 1 liters because you have to completely soak it in water.
ですから、1リットル 1000cc を、炊きますから、仕上がりは、こしますから、700cc ぐらいになりますかね。
So it would be boiled, right? And then after that, it will be filtered. So I think the final portion, the grams of the water will be around 700 cc's.
ただ、二番だしの場合はうまみだけですので、それに調味液を、みりんとか、醤油とかたくさん使いますから、絞っても、大丈夫です。
But for Nibandashi, it's all about umami. And after this, we will be putting seasonings in there, like mirin, the sweet sake, and also some soy sauce. So for the Nibandashi, it's okay to squeeze. It's different from the ichiban dashi.
それと先ほどの、鰹節ですが、このように削られたものが、海外でも、売られております。必ず出汁を引く寸前に封を開けてください。封を開けて時間が経ちますと香りが飛んでしまいます。
And the shaved katsuobushi, like the one I was holding right now, I'm sure that you can get it in your countries. It's sold in foreign countries as well. But please be careful of when to open that pack of shaved katsuobushi. So you have to open it right before you are creating the dashi. Because if you open it too much in advance, the aroma will go away.
よろしいですか？これで。
Does it seem okay? No more questions? 大丈夫そうです。
はい。では精進だし。
Okay, now let me talk about Shojin Dashi.
こちらの大豆ですね。
These are soybeans.
これを、フライパンで入れます。
I will put the soybeans in a frying pan.
必ずノンオイルで。
Non-oil. Don't put oil in it.
この大豆を、こんがりと入り上げます。
So these soybeans are going to be roasted.
で、先ほどのこの昆布だしですね。
And we have the kobu dashi here.
これの入り上がった状態と、昆布だしを、温度を上げて沸騰直前まで昆布だしを温度を上げていきます。
And so we will have this combination of the roasted soybean and also the kobu dashi, and it will be boiled just below the boiling point.
この大豆を入り上げるまでに少し時間がかかりますので、
And it does take a bit of time to roast these soybeans.
その間昆布とカツオの出汁の、質問があれば、どうぞ。
So while I'm doing this, if you have any questions about kombu or katsuobushi dashi, you can give them in right now. We do have some time. So we have a question from Sean-san, Sean Chu-san. Can we use the remaining katsuo and kombu for anything, like appetizers and stuff? はい、残った、昆布だったりカツオ節っていうのは他の用途に使えるんでしょうか？何か前菜に使ったりとかそういうことってされるんですか？
メインの、 お客様に提供するというところは、非常に、使う用途が、限られますが、日本の場合、食事の時の漬物という白いご飯ですね、ライスに対して、お漬物、その一品として、昆布を、醤油と、みりん、場合によっては砂糖を合わせて炊き上げたもの、もしくは昆布と、山椒、昆布と、他の、例えば唐辛子ですね、そういう野菜を合わせて炊き上げて、いわゆる日本でいう佃煮というものを作る場合もあります。
Yes. Thank you for the question. In terms of how to apply it for like serving purpose to customers, it is quite limited, I have to say, regarding the remaining kombu and the remaining katsuobushi. But here in Japan, we have something called tsukemono, so that will be pickles that we eat together with our white rice. And for this, you can use the remaining kombu together with, you can cook it together with soy sauce and mirin, the sweet sake, and maybe sometimes some sugar. Or, so that would create the pickles. And also you can create what we call tsukudani here in Japan, together with the remaining kombu and also sansho or pepper. You can cook it together to create the tsukudani. So there is a way to use them. あと一つ質問入ってます from Lucas さん。Would it be okay to give a little toast on the katsuobushi to create a different flavor? こう、鰹節のを別の味にこうするためにちょっとこうトースト、焼くみたいなことってしていいんですか？
OK です。
Yes, that's okay.
それと先ほどの昆布ですが、このように真ん中に切れ目を入れて、
So that kombu from the middle, put a cut through the middle like that. Do you see?
中に入れて
And you put it
ね
inside.
じりこんにゃく、
and
ねじり、昆布
you can see now it's twisted kombu.
で油の中で唐揚げ、
And you will fry this in oil.
それで、塩を振って食べる。
And this will be create the karaage of kombu. So you can put finally some salt on it to eat it. That's another way of using this.
食べれるものですから基本的にどちらも、再利用は可能です。
Of course, these are edible things, so it's reusable.
特にこの鰹節は、出汁を取った後フライパンに入れてからいりをしながら、一味唐辛子とか、場合によったらちょっとお味噌を入れて味噌味にして、入り上げてふりかけ。
Yeah, so especially for this remaining katsuobushi, after you get the dashi, you can reuse it by putting it in the frying pan and roasting it a bit, and you can put it together with maybe some ichimi pepper or sometimes maybe some miso, and then you can come up with the furikake. That's the powder furikake on top of the white rice that we use.
もしくは、野菜と合わせて野菜を、みじん切りにしてこの鰹節と合わせて昆布もみじん切りにして。
And also, what you can do is you can cook it together with vegetables. So you will be mincing the vegetables, but also mincing the kombu as well, and you can combine that together.
マヨネーズ
And put mayonnaise in there,
であえて
and then dress with mayonnaise,
トーストの上にのせて焼く。
and put it on some toast, some bread, and put it in the toaster. It's tasty.
オリジナルです。
It's an original recipe that I have.
そろそろ入り上がってきました。
So I guess now the soybeans are quite roasted up.
まだまだなんですが、見るとですね、焦げの部分があります。これを焦がさないように入り上げるのが大事です。焦がすと、苦みだけ出ます。
Yes, so it still is going to take a bit more time, but you can see it's really difficult. It's really important not to have scorches of the soybeans. If you have scorches, it's going to lead to just bitterness. So don't have scorches and be careful.
だから火加減を鍋外しながら
So sometimes you can take it away from the flame.
で必ず一箇所にとどめないように豆を。
And make sure that the beans don't stay in one place. You have to keep on moving it around.
時間あるんですね。大丈夫？時間ちょっとかかります。入り上げるまでに。
It's going to take a bit more time to roast up these soybeans.
Any
more questions? I'm free for them right now.
あとカツオとこの昆布の出汁を引きましたけど、日本の場合そばうどんとかっていう麺類がありますよね。
Yeah, and I just talked about the katsuo or the kobu dashi, but in Japan we have the soba and udon noodles, right?
の場合には、他のですね、サバ節とかマグロ、カツオ、サバ、あと、ウルメとか煮干し、いわゆる煮干しですね、そういうような、乾物を使って、より複雑なうまみの濃い出汁を引く場合があります。
So in that case, sometimes we use not only the Katsuobushi, but also like mackerel fushi or tuna fushi, and even like big eye sardines. So we would use all these types of like dry food products to get a more complicated taste and also to be able to extract more rich umami. We have a question, it seems. 質問が来たようです。
来ました。はい。
From Fernando さん、こんにちは。For make dashi and saba flakes or iwashi flakes is the same process. そのサバ節だったりイワシ節で出汁を作る時っていうのも引く時っていうのも同じプロセスと考えていいんでしょうか。
二番出汁と同じような出汁の引き方ですね。
In that case, it would be the same way, same process as creating the Nibandashi.
しばらく炊きます。
You have to boil it for some time.
炊きながら、しっかりと出汁を濃い出汁を引いていきます。
And by having that gradual boiling process, you would have that secure, rich dashi coming out.
一番出汁の場合には昆布のうまみと鰹節の香り、いいどこ取りを瞬間的に取るわけですね。で、その出汁はもちろんクリアで非常においしいんですけども、何に使うかというと、日本の一番の、メインディッシュですね、ワン刺しといいまして、ワン盛りと、お刺身ですね。それが日本料理の一番の大事な料理の、料理人の腕を測るといいますか、そういうものですので、お椀の場合には、特に新鮮な椀種というもの、いわゆる具ですね、お椀の中の具、そういうものを、お椀の中で熱々の引き立ての出汁を張ることによって、お椀の中で素材の出汁と混然一体となって、うまみという状態にしていって、お客様がお椀を蓋を開けた時に、その鰹節の香りと昆布のうまみにプラス椀種がやっぱり一番、上等な食材を使いますので、そこから、出てくるうまみと相まって、例えば椀種のエビとかですね、椀種の、新庄とか、もちろんお野菜もそうなんですけども、そういうものと、混然一体となって最高の、出汁に、なるわけですね。
Yeah. So for the ichiban dashi, this is where we are combining the umami of the kombu and also the aroma of the katsuo. So that would be like the strong points of the kombu and the katsuo. This is combined and we are getting this instantly. So this creates a really clear and tasty dashi. But I do have to say that this ichiban dashi is used for the main dish. We call it the main dish here in Japan because this is the dishes where the chef's techniques are tried out. So this would be the wanmono, that's the soup bowl, and also the sashimi. It's used for those two purposes mainly. And especially for the soup bowl, this is really important because as I talked about the aroma of the katsuobushi and the umami of the kombu, right? But it's not only that. In the soup bowl, there's very good ingredients in there, like fresh ingredients, for example, shrimps or shinjo or vegetables. All of those also have their own umami extracted. So by having very heated up, very clear ichiban dashi going into that soup bowl, there's that mix of all the good parts, all the aroma and umami combines, which creates the best dish. So that's how we use ichiban dashi.
麺類の場合は麺類の味は出てきませんよね、あまり。少しはありますけど。ですから出汁が濃い出汁が必要になります。
So in terms of noodles, it's a bit different because the taste of the noodles don't seep out so much. A little bit comes out, but not so much. So therefore, it's really important to have the more richer concentrated dashi.
どうですか、だいぶ。
So look at that. It's pretty roasted up, isn't it, the soybeans? We have another question. もう一つ質問が入ってます from Eduardo-san. I shouldn't have used this question, but can we freeze ichiban nibandashi like chicken, vegetables, and meat broth? Here in Brazil, katsuobushi is a little expensive, and we don't use it in restaurants, but maybe we could if we could freeze it. はい、ブラジル出身の方なんですけれども、これちょっと質問するのは失礼かもしれないんですが、一番だしだったり二番だしをその野菜から取ったりとか肉から取ったりする我々だしと呼んでますがというものと同じように冷凍することって可能なんですか。でなぜこれを聞くかと言いますと、ブラジルで正直鰹節がちょっと高いんですね。なのでレストランであまり使われていないっていう現状があって、でも冷凍保存が効くのであれば使えるかなと思ったので聞いてます。
それ OK です。OK。
That's okay. You can freeze it.
ただし香りは飛びます。
However, I have to say the aroma will go away.
だから瞬間的に少しの鰹節を通すということを使うときに。
So when you use it, when you're actually using it, I think the tip would be to put a little bit more katsuobushi in there.
冷凍しただしを、戻して鍋に入れて温度を上げて少しの鰹節を入れて香りだけ取って提供する。それはありですね。
I think it's okay. So you can get it out of the freezer when you're trying to use it and then put it on the fire to heat it up. And when you're doing that in the final process, put a little bit more katsuobushi in there because that will compensate for the aroma that went away. And then you can serve it to the customers.
はい。いいですか。
So there we go.
この色。
This color.
いいですね。
You see?
もう完全にいい状態です。
So this is the
で、
perfect
沸騰
state.
させます、昆布だし
And
を。
the kobudashi is boiled up.
ここでアクだけ取ります
And I'm
ね。
going to remove the foams.
これ余熱で焦げますからね。
And it's going to be charred by just the remaining heat, so be careful.
これで沸騰した状態で入れます。
So it's boiled up and put the soybeans in.
火は止めてますね。
And I have already stopped the fire.
これで20分。
And do this remaining 20 minutes. You will keep this.
20分すると少しずつ沈んでいきます。
when 20 minutes passes, little by little, the soybeans will go down.
いい香りもして。
It's a really, the aroma is really, really nice here. We feel it. 質問が来ております。
はい。
We have a question from Sean Chu-san. Is there a way to make a vegetarian dashi if there are allergies and stuff? この例えばアレルギーがあったりしたときにベジタリアンの出汁を作りたいなと思ったらそういう方法ってあるんですか？
昆布、ベース、昆布がベースですね。それと、今の大豆、プラス干し椎茸。
Yes. To answer your question, you would be using the kombu, again, the kombu-based dashi, and then putting soybeans in there like I'm doing right now. And plus that, you'll be using the dried shiitake mushrooms.
あと私たちはかんぴょうというウリを乾燥させたもの、それを、使う場合もあります。
And here in Japan, we sometimes use something called kampyo, that would be dried gourd. That would be also an ingredient that we use.
でもちろんフレッシュの、野菜の、皮とかそういうものを、煮出して野菜スープとしてブレンドしてもいいですね。
And also, of course, you can simmer fresh vegetable skin and then use that for the vegetable soup. That's okay too.
質問よろしいですか？
Any more questions?
いずれにしてもベースは昆布の出汁がいかに重要かということがよくわかります。
So I think you can understand that in any case, the kombu dashi is the most important, very important. We have another question. 質問が来ています。From Lucas-san. Excuse me, I could not follow the name of the last dashi Takada-san has made. Could you tell us again, please? 最後に今作られている出汁の名前、名称、もう一度言う、多分精進だし。
はい。
Yeah, that was 精進だし。
日本ではね。
In Japan, we call it 精進だし。It's Japanese.
精進料理というのは、主にお寺でありますけども、そこの出汁のベースとなるものがこれなんです。
We have something called Shojin cuisine, and mainly it's a cuisine for temples. But this is the dashi that they use.
ちなみに私もよく間違えられます。
And by the way, I'm always so perceived as a person in a temple.
笑っちゃ
Joke.
ダメ。笑っちゃダメ。
Don't laugh. Sorry, I laughed.
もうちょっと時間あれですけども、ちょっと時間をしてますから、越しますか。はい、質問。質問あるだけやりましょう。
We have another question, so let me try to answer that.
いいですか。
So
で、あと10
Shojin
分ぐらい
dashi you can also find in
じゃ
the
あそれで
book.
越しましょうか。ちょっと前にね。じゃあ7分ぐらい経ったら言ってください。
質問ではなかったです。交流みたいのがあってですね、
はい、
我々の持っている本の中に精進だしの話もありましたよっていう今交流がされていました。
そうですかね。やはり日本料理の出汁というのはやっぱり香りが大事ですね。いずれにしてもその食材、その素材の、香りというものがやはり全部変わってきますので、その辺がやはり見た目ももちろん大事ですけども、香りと味ということに関してはやはり非常に神経を鋭敏にしていかないと、特に一番だしの味付けなどは非常に難しいですね。
Yeah. I do have to say that the aroma and the smell is extremely important for Japanese cuisine dashi. Of course, each and every ingredient that we use have different aroma, so we have to be sensitive towards that. And of course, how it looks is extremely important. But in Japan, the aroma and the taste is also equally very, very important. So as a chef, you have to be really, really sensitive in this field, and especially for how to use an ichiban dashi. It's really even difficult for chefs like me.
じゃあこうしましょうか。
So let me go through the filtering process now.
これももちろん煮豆として使います。
And this, our remaining soybean, of course, can be used for simmered beans.
この色見てください。
Look at this color.
非常にすごい琥珀色のような。
You can see that it's a really clear, like bronzy color.
琥珀色ってないんですか？
琥珀色っていうのがあんまりないんで。
ないの？
多分色は日本語が結構
もうすごいよね。
繊細で。But like an amber bronze.
なるほどね。これで高野豆腐なんか炊くといいですよね。
And you can even use this to boil the koya tofu, the tofu.
でなぜかというと豆の出汁で豆で作った豆腐を炊く。
Why I say this is because tofu is made from beans, right? And this dashi was extracted also from beans, so it's perfect.
OK。一番だし。
So I'm trying to show you how much the color is different. So this is the ichiban dashi right now.
Shojin dashi.
And this is the Shojin dashi. We have a question. 質問が来ています。
はい、どうぞ。
From Deborah さん。Are there any other uses for Shojin dashi? Shojin dashi のまた違うその他の使い方、用途ってあるんですか？
使い道に、まあ、煮炊き物を中心でスープとしてももちろん OK ですね。
Yeah, so mainly it's around simmered food and cooked food, but it's also good for soup as well.
さっきの二番だしの
And this is Nibandashi.
これくらいかな。これぐらいですね。
Like that.
ひたひた。
So you can see it's completely soaked in water.
時間かかるよ。
This is going to take a bit more time.
これで、沸騰させて炊いて少し
So this is boiled up, and then afterwards, a little bit of more katsuobushi shavings are put inside. 質問来ました。はい。ざっくりと、一番だし、今これ二番だし途中なんですけども、精進だしと、3種類の、だしのお話を、させていただきました。最初お話ししましたように、一番だしは、瞬間的に、昆布のうまみはもちろんなんですけど、鰹節の香り、その鰹節の香りを、大事に一番日本人は大事にしてます。で、昆布と鰹節が一緒になることによって相乗効果で、7倍8倍のうまみを、引き出すことができるということも、科学的な実証のもと、データとして出ております。この精進だしも同じなんですが、昆布のベースとこのようにいった大豆を合わせることによってやはりうまみ成分が非常に単体で、取るよりもおいしく、引き出すことができます。まあ日本の中では、他にも、動物性のだしも、例えば鶏のだしとか、いろいろございますけども、基本中の基本はやはり昆布とカツオで、鰹節と言いますが、実は、よく似た、魚でマグロという、魚もあります。でマグロ節も、日本の中で使われる場合もありますし、マグロ節と鰹節とブレンドして使う場合もあります。やはり各料理人の工夫とか使う用途によって全て変わりますので、いろいろ、ご自身で試していただいて、やはり味を見るということが、一番大事だと思います。はい、以上です。よろしいですか。 So today I have roughly introduced to you about Ichibandashi and Nibandashi. Well, Nibandashi, I'm still in the midst of creating it, but I've introduced to you what that is. And also I've talked about Shojin Dashi. So as I mentioned earlier, Ichibandashi is about instantly extracting the umami of the kombu, but also the aroma of the katsuobushi together. And we can say that Japanese people really put importance on the aroma of katsuobushi. So this is really important. And by having that combination, there is a synergistic effect. It's actually already scientifically verified that by having this kombu and katsuobushi combination, we can have the umami increase to 7 times or 8 times that of the single umami component. Also, it's the same thing for Shojin Dashi as well. So today we were combining the kombu dashi together with the roasted soybeans. And that also is a synergistic effect. This can also extract more umami components than just using one ingredient. And in Japan, we do have animal dashi, for example, like chicken dashi. We do have it here in Japan. But I do have to say that the basics is going to be the kombu and the katsuo. And I keep on saying katsuo. Katsuo is, of course, bonito. But in Japan, we also have the tuna fish. And we do sometimes use the tuna fushi, the tuna fillets. So, and also sometimes we even combine the katsuobushi together with the maguro tuna, magurobushi. So that combination is sometimes done. And it's really depending on each and every ingredient or the recipes that the chef has, and also the applications where you're going to use it for. So I just want to again tell you, everybody, to please try it out yourselves. And every time you do this, please check with your own tongue the taste.
2番だしが引き上がりました。
So now I finished the extracting for the Nibandashi.
絞って OK です。
So now it's okay to squeeze like this because it's Nibandashi.
ちょっと薄いですね。
Here you go. It's a bit light color again, right?
以上この3つのだし
So
でした。
today I talked about these 3 types of dashi. Thank you.
どうもありがとうございました。
So thank you so much for listening.
バイバイ。